Ooh. Ooh. Fuck.
Welcome back to Underrated Movies. I'm trying to do something different with this new webcam and have a lot to learn from it, let's just say. I'm your guy, I'm your man, Mr. Alton Henry. Today I would like to talk to you of another underrated film that you need to check out. You should check out, and it's currently available playing everywhere in theaters. In fact, I actually saw this film last week, and it just now I'm taking the time to bringing it to your attention because I really had to really think about it. Like I really had to think about this film, and truthfully, I do enjoy this film. But I ain't gonna lie, there are some things about this film is a bit disturbing, and I was left thinking. Okay, I was thinking. Okay, I would just be off the record. This movie is not going to be for everybody, but it's very, very original. This is Kind of Kindness, starring Jesse Plemons, Emma Stone. Who else is in it? Long list of people, long list of people. And this is an anthology story where it technically there are some connections with the film. Three stories. Story one centers around a employee working for this company who is very infatuated with his boss, but his boss controls his life and dictates everything that he does and requests him to do a specific little act of violence, which is insane, especially the way he's asking him to do it. Without any spoiler alert, he refuses and he pretty much, I guess you could say, breaks up with him. And his whole world becomes, uh, starts to fall apart when he doesn't fulfill his boss's request. And just things start to feel like his whole life has been predestined based on what his boss tells him. And it's a uniquely weird story. Part two centers around the same actors, but as different characters. Each actor plays a different character in each story. Centers around a police officer who becomes suspicious when his wife returns from after being missing for quite some time. And he is constantly convincing himself that that's not his wife. And it gets a little bit more bizarre. And the third story involves with a cult, and it involves around looking for a specific person who could bring somebody to life, and it's unique. And for anybody who knows about Lanthimos' work, you know his characters are a little bit emotionless, quirky, dry, but just strange. And I'm gonna tell you straight up, this movie is strange. Okay, everything about this film and how it unravels and some of the character decisions that they do are quite hilarious, but they're also a little bit off-putting. Okay, I'm not going to deny there were some parts in here that literally make me uncomfortable. In fact, maybe a little bit too uncomfortable to the point where it felt like you were watching a psychological horror film. And it got to that point where it felt like you were watching something like that because there are some things in here that are disturbing. But I do like a film that does push the envelopes of the audience expectations. And this film will test your patience because the film is a little bit long since it is three stories. Each story averages around like a good 40 to 50 minutes, at least close to the 50-minute mark. And like I said, each story does have some sort of connection. And you kind of won't know until everything starts to kind of pick up a little bit. But again, with this filmmaker, he doesn't really reveal what plot points or what elements or what story moments. Moments is not the right word, but each story plot point that he introduces, he doesn't fully elaborate. So you kind of have to use your imagination to kind of figure out what does this mean? What does that mean? If I have to say what my favorite story was, it's probably the second story. And I think that one was probably the most disturbing. And for a maybe for a good reason, but again, this movie is just and the reason why I say for a good reason, because it takes you in a certain direction where you think it's gonna happen and you keep guessing. And every time you keep guessing, you think you're gonna be right about something, but you turned out to be wrong. And in the film, the story does something completely different and it keeps throwing you off. Sometimes this movie feels a bit cruel, where I'm not gonna lie to you, anybody who's I would say has a Pacific moral. Well, I don't know maybe that's not the right way to say it, but I can tell you this film will push the envelopes based on what you believe in. I, for one, was a little bit uncomfortable. I was trying to figure out whether or not I was liking this film or not. And truthfully, I do like this film. I don't think it's Lanthimos' best film. The big standout of this movie, the biggest standout is Jesse Plemons, who won Best Actor at the Cannes Film Festival, where he delivers one of his funniest performances. I still think his performance in Game Night is his best performance, and I loved his character in that film. But here, especially the first two stories, he's literally the main lead. Emma Stone, I don't think her character or anything that she doesn't really shine until she plays a C member in the third story, and that story gets a little bit too bonkers. And but I think it's a story that offers a lot of heart as well. But again, you are watching disturbing characters doing disturbing things that might put you off. And it's going to put a lot of people off. I'm not gonna lie to you. Okay. This film won't be for everybody. There are some pretty shocking moments, especially in the second story. There's and I'm still kind of confused with it because like I said, they don't explain anything. Things just kind of happen, and if there were some sort of explanation, I missed it. So you're kind of thrown in a loop where certain occurrences happen within this story, and it's shocking. Like I said, this ain't gonna be everybody's cup of tea. I'm still debating whether or not if this is better than Poor Things. I think Poor Things was a little bit funnier, and this movie, and I think it's a little bit lighthearted. This film is darker. It does take some darker twists, and you kind of want to brace yourself when you walk it when you're watching it when you're going into this film because, well, it is very disturbing for a dark comedy. And if you're not into comedies that are just bizarre and portray very disturbing, uniquely characters, and I'm gonna tell you right now, you're probably not gonna be on board this film because it is weird, but weird, funny in a very uniquely different way. But I do challenge you guys to check this movie out. Kinds of Kindness. I actually have the key. Actually, when I was at the theater at the AMC, they actually gave a little keychain of Kinds of Kindness, and that's actually cool. What I liked about really liked about this film is that when they tell you what the uh the credits, each story ends, the credits of the cast quickly will pop up, and then we just show it, and then it'll just go into the next story. And again, these stories do connect, and I think it goes like this. The first story, I think the first one is the story that begins is number one. However, two and three play out of order. Actually, no. I think the first story, I think the second story happens before the story one. The story one ends up becoming second, and then the third story, the last story, occurs because something happens in the film and the third story where well that's basically what the whole story is for that third plot is where you follow these members looking for somebody who has the power of bringing somebody back from the dead. And there's something happens with this particular character where they're connecting. It feels like a dark comedy cartoon in a way, where you know, like you know those Cartoon Network dark, bizarre comedy shows that somewhat is kind of disturbing but uniquely funny in a way because of just the imagery and just what goes on, just the weird bizarreness that occurs into this. It's very unique, but I can tell you, disturbing. And I do recommend it. I challenge you to go watch it. Signs of Kindness. Have you seen it? Comment below. Let me know if you have, and let me know what is your favorite underrated movie.